Hello and welcome to Generation Logistics Season 3. Now, this season we are myth busting, and this episode we're going to be looking at the common myth that logistics is just a career for men. Now, I'm joined by the wonderful Nicola, Amy, and Vivi. Thank you ever so much for all joining me today. Let's just start. Can you give me an introduction to you and what does your day-to-day role look like within logistics? Vivi, if I can start with you.
Thank you for having us today. So my role is senior customer experience consultant. I'm working with Maersk the last 6 years. I had the opportunity to move along departments, customs, exports, imports, and customs compliance as well. So I had a breadth of experience in the logistics area. At the moment, my main focus is reef and cold chain customers and try to achieve and provide the best possible experience and resolve any issues in a timely manner.
Oh, wow. Amazing. Thank you. And Nicola.
I'm Nicola. I'm a resource planning manager at GXO. I've been there for 11 years, since I was quite young. I've not really had the chance to move around. I tend to stay in the same place. I get really comfortable in one place. But I've done a number of roles within the same department. My day-to-day job, I've got a team of 7, so it can be quite hectic. Quite new people as well. We've had a lot of change. People have developed, and I've got quite a lot of new people at the minute. Typically on a day, I'd look after things like the annual leave, the rota allocations, everything resource based into logistics.
Awesome. Thank you ever so much.
Welcome.
And Amy.
Amy, I'm a group people development partner with Wincanton. I've been there since graduating university. I was on their graduate programme up until this year, so I did 4 placements from operations to transport. I did sort of placements in business development and then people, but finally sort of wound up in people development in the learning development team. So my role, I'll sort of be delivering training across the different departments, looking at sort of the management side of training, but also developing sort of things like values and resources for the business as well.
Amazing. Well, thank you ever so much for all joining us and bringing such a wealth of expertise to this episode. So why do you think there is a perception still that exists within logistics that this is a male-dominated field? Nicola, can I start with you?
So I think people have this perception because there is a lot of males in a lot higher roles. However, they've been there quite a while, and it's not just that they've been there a while, they've obviously grown into that role. And I think a lot of women are scared to put themselves forward. I were always told that a woman sees a job advertisement and they'll try and match every single point before applying, whereas a man matches a few points and they'll apply straight away. But yeah, women typically tend to just match a few points and only apply for a job if they fit every point.
Box.
Yeah.
That's really
Yeah.
interesting. And Amy, I saw you nodding along there. You obviously had
Sort
some
of
thoughts
same,
on this as
yeah,
well.
Yeah, definitely. And I think was it like 17% of managerial positions in our industry are women. So
Wow.
like basically less than 1 in 5 managers in our industry are sort of represented as women, and you have to sort of see something to be able to be something.
Yeah.
And I think because we sort of come into the industry and we don't see those women necessarily in those more senior positions, that we sort of don't think that that's for us. And I
Yeah.
think we're very sort of quick to sort of say, actually no, I'm probably, or I'll go and do something else instead.
I think it lies a lot as well because women have children. A lot of women tend to back off a little bit because they want to put the children first, which is understandable. But yeah, I think that's the reason why they back off a little bit, because they're scared to take that next step just in case.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And there's obviously a bit of a history there as well in these perceptions. Now, where do you think, we've touched on it a little bit, where do you think that these stereotypes have come from? And overall, how do they impact your industry? Vivi, can I start with you?
Of course, thank you. So I think this stems back from history. The logistics industry have been associated with like labor intensive tasks. We had warehousing, lorry drivers. So this is kind of attached the men-dominated label, and this comes forward to date. We have seen great progress being made, great strides, and we see the new joiners in the industry. We have a better like representation within the female, and we see and hope this to keep growing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, it's important that we have been in different networking events. We see now women more making the presence there. We see more and more participating, being in the panel discussions, and promote the female position within the industry. So
Yeah.
I think progress has been made, but
Still
we are
steps to
still,
go.
yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And it's very interesting that you say that links back to Labour, and that probably goes back a very long time. Nicola, do you have any views on this?
So recently I took part in a program that we do at GXO. It's called a female development program, and it's all about bringing in females into business, developing the skills, putting them in the places that they're supposed to be, where they think that they need to be at that time. It's not to push anyone into a role that they don't necessarily feel comfortable in. It's more about empowering women and making sure that they're resilient and they can apply for those jobs, and they feel confident enough to apply for those jobs even if they've got males that are also applying. And one phrase that always stuck with me when I did that program was a male actually told me, take a seat at the table, and it stuck in my head because a lot of women would tend to go in and wait for other people to sit down or wait for men to sit down just in case they had a preferred position. And I did it myself. I used to go into a room and think, oh, is that person going to sit there? Is that person going to sit there? And then I'd wait until everybody was seated to take my position. But now after doing that, I go straight into a room, I sit straight down, and I always take a seat, and it's always stuck with me, the take a seat.
I absolutely love that. And that's definitely something that we need to be encouraging our viewers to do, and the next generation to do. I think go in and take a seat. That's definitely something we
100%.
can take forward.
100%.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So how has the logistics industry evolved to become more inclusive, especially around gender diversity? Amy, let's kick off with you.
I think it's making sort of strides. I think in even just the sort of just over 2 years that I've been working in logistics, the change in sort of the atmosphere around women in the role has massively changed. I think I've been really, really lucky to have so many female mentors through sort of the time I've been in, and they've sort of mentored and sort of given me the confidence to do exactly like what you've just said, to walk in, to take that seat at the table and sort of be confident in yourselves. I think as women we tend to apologize a lot of the time, or sorry for this, sorry for that, and I think over time we're realizing actually no, I deserve to be here, and I do, you know, get rid of that imposter syndrome, have that confidence to walk into that room and sort of know that we're in that position for a reason and we deserve to be there. But yeah, definitely sort of seeing sort of women in more senior positions. I think the workplace is becoming more inclusive towards women as well. I know for a fact that a lot of industries, I know for a fact we have flexible working for sort of all levels. So thinking about women who are coming in, maybe working in a warehouse, we've got something called a people campus where they can come in, they can sort of choose hours which work for them around those other life commitments that they may have. Obviously, women are still doing predominantly most of the childcare. Things like maternity pay don't really help that. So again, that flexible working, even just having a menopause policy, that's something we've introduced in the last couple of years. So again, when women sort of reaching a later stage of their career, that they can have again that flexible working, making sure they can have those adjustments, working in different parts of the office, which are a bit cooler potentially, having fans on desk, and again that time off for appointments. All those sort of things sort of build that culture where women are feeling more included and they want to be in that room.
Absolutely, I love that. And so we're hearing, my understanding is that we're hearing that inclusivity is being brought in terms of being mindful of differences and what might be required, but also, I'm loving this, empower women to step forward and actually know that you've got value to bring forward, which is absolutely brilliant. Vivi, do you have any thoughts on this point?
Yes, I think the industry has changed and evolved during the years as well. We have the digitalization now we are looking for more skilled personnel and stuff. So this is not so much gender-based anymore. It's skill-based. So we need people that are ready to think out of the box, have the skills, are agile and ready to take on the challenges and like deliver. So this is exactly what helped to break those barriers and like open the road for females to get into the logistics industry.
Yes, I love that. And the skills are gender neutral, aren't they? The skills don't come
Exactly.
from a gender. And of course, if you want to find out more about any careers within logistics, you can do so at Not Going to Uni or at generationlogistics.org. So, for young women who are considering a career in logistics, what opportunities would be available for them and what paths could they possibly take? What would you suggest? Nicola, let's start with you.
There's quite a lot. I took a completely different path to logistics when I first started out as a young woman. I did hairdressing, the typical hairdresser, beauty therapist, and I just kind of fell into logistics. But I would say, as a woman coming into logistics, it's just not being scared. There is a lot of stigma around it. It's a male dominant world, and you're not going to be as empowered as a man. But once you get in the logistics sector, you would actually find that it's not like that at all. There's a lot of men that do support people. I've had a lot of male mentors, I've had a lot of female mentors. They can give a different perspective on things, and I would advise a young person going into logistics to have a mentor, even if it's not at the same workplace, even if it's outside a different company. It could even be a family member as a mentor. Anybody can mentor you in your life, but just take that step and don't look back, because it is an amazing opportunity once you get there.
Yeah, logistics is an amazing career. I'm always so inspired when I talk to people on this series. May I just dive in a little bit deep there? You say you fell into logistics.
Yeah.
Can you talk us through how you got into logistics?
So I started out as a hairdresser. I went to college very young, and I didn't enjoy it. I never went down the university route. It just wasn't for me. I didn't feel like at the time that I'd even get into university at all. I didn't think I was, not brainy, but I didn't have the abilities to get into university. So I did college, and I became a hairdresser full time. I then got my own salon. I did that for around a year and I really didn't enjoy it.
No.
I was very young at the time. So I gave that in and I was like, right, I'm going to do something. And I just looked online and I was like, GXO. It wasn't GXO at the time, but obviously it's GXO now. I'll try there. So I went there, and first couple of weeks were rough, because obviously I was really young. I started there and I just didn't know what to expect. But after I got over the initial, like, being around actual adults,
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. And then from there, it just got better and better for me. I obviously applied for different positions, and I ended up being upstairs in the office, and I loved that from then.
From day dot.
Yeah.
I love that. And of course, if you don't feel like university is for you, you can always find more information at Not Going to Uni website. So Amy, I'm going to ask you the same question in terms of young women heading into the career within logistics. What paths could they take? What would you suggest?
So I came in from like the opposite path, I guess, from you. So I went to university. I studied politics and sociology, so
Wow.
really relevant to logistics. Went for my degree, came out, didn't really know what I wanted to do. I didn't want to go into politics. It's sort of, the more you study it, the more like, I don't want to be involved in that. So I sort of, grad scheme, I knew I wanted a rotational grad scheme. And again, logistics, when you start looking into it, is literally behind every single thing in our lives. Our clothes, our food, everything is logistics, right? So I saw the Wincanton graduate program and applied, managed to get on. I was really lucky. And so that's a 2-year program. We do 4 lots of 6-month placements rotating around the business. Again, still didn't know what I wanted to do, so it was really great for me to try out different areas. And I would really recommend a graduate scheme if that structure of that learning and development constantly after coming from education is really sort of a good way to sort of not ease yourself into work, because don't get me wrong, when it was 6 o'clock in the morning and I was stood in a warehouse in the middle of winter, it was a bit of a shock. like you said, managing sort of people who are sort of like double, if not more, my age as well.
Yeah.
That was a massive shock. But I think with that support that I had around me was really, really helpful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
love that. And Vivi, can I ask your experience as well on that?
Yeah, so personally, I think I'm similar with Amy. So I have a bachelor degree and 2 master degrees, politics, international relations mostly.
Wow.
And I fell into logistics, and I felt like it was after the a maternity cover position, and I was looking for an opportunity. I had an interview with Maersk back at the time, and I've been dealing with carriers, couriers, and hauliers, and I really thought at that time that the service was not the one that I would like to. So
Yeah.
I thought back at the time, like if I get to the other side of the fence and try to make the customer experience as silk as I can. And yeah, I was given this opportunity, and I'm still making the best out of it.
I absolutely love that. And I
Yeah.
love the fact that you've seen that from a customer's perspective.
Exactly.
And that's really inspirational to see you then go, you know what, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to make that change. And
Yeah.
you've done it. All of you are in senior positions here and very inspirational to anybody who's watching today. Okay, could you highlight some of the diverse roles within logistics that are open to women or anybody out there, particularly from warehousing to leadership positions? Amy, can I start with you?
There are so many roles. You could do anything in logistics. I think when we think of logistics, there's still that sort of outdated mindset that it's lorries, it's containers, it's warehouses, and honestly, it is not that anymore. I think even just in the short time I've been in the industry, the amount of automation that's going into it. We've got a digital and tech grad scheme going the last few years, and they're going to go on to look at robots and all that sort of really, really cool stuff that's now coming into play. So there's massive sort of demand for engineers in the industry as well. So STEM subjects are really looked for, but also as well. So I went the opposite way. So I really enjoyed working with people throughout my program, and I didn't want to go in sort of necessarily sort of typical HR, but I knew I wanted to help people develop. So I sort of fell into people development, and I love that side of it. I love being able to sort of like have conversations with different people from across the business each day. Again, you can go into that warehouse side, and I think working in a warehouse, something I thought I would hate, I won't lie. And I've told my manager back at the time, I said, when I first started, I was dreading this placement. I did not want to be there. It was 4 o'clock in the morning starts, but after a week, you get into it and you love it, and you realize actually it's a bit of a buzz. You're constantly sort of running around doing things, problems to solve, and it's a lot more exciting than you probably think it's going to be. Again, even with transport, there's so much things to learn. There's so many roles, whether it's you can be a driver, but also you can be sort of working on transport excellence and sort of a digitalization of transport and how that's changing. So we're seeing the emergence of things like apps and sort of trackers and that side of it. There's so many opportunities coming up, and it's constantly changing at a really rapid rate. So there's so much to get involved in.
I love that. And your enthusiasm there has got me so excited. I want to change my career. And I love that chat about the emergence of robots and AI there. Of course, if you want to know more about AI, we are doing another episode on AI. So make sure to check that out at generationlogistics.org. Vivi, can I ask you the same question?
Of course. So there are a variety of roles. You can do anything: finance, customs, imports, exports, operations, transport planning, engineering, technology. We have within Maersk, we have so much opportunities. We have our newly launched graduate scheme as well at the moment. So
Wonderful.
you just check what you like and you go for it.
And you go for it. Yes, I
Yeah.
love that. And Nicola, finally, your thoughts?
It's pretty much the same. I think the girls have really covered everything, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, I just don't ever not go for something. every role's for every person, whether you're a female, a male, or whatever you want to identify as.
Yeah.
You should never be scared to step into a role, even if you don't know everything, because not everybody knows everything. But we have a lot of senior female leaders in my industry. So it's amazing to see that people are actually stepping forward for those careers and taking them. It's
Yes.
amazing. Even
Yeah.
different nationalities, everything. Just never be scared to take that step.
It's fabulous. And I love what you've all touched on here, that this isn't just warehousing, this isn't just moving of lorries. There is a whole world in here.
Yeah.
So whether it's down to finance, HR, customer services, or working in a warehouse, which has a very different feel than what the perception might be, there is loads of opportunity there. So however you identify, that is a brilliant way of getting involved. I love it. So I'd like to ask what initiatives or programs are available within your logistics companies that really help incentivize women and gender diversity to come into the workplace. Nicola, can I start with you?
Yeah. So like I was saying earlier, I touched on it a little bit earlier. We do a lot of programs, do graduate schemes, apprenticeships, but we also do the female development program, FDP for short. It's just easier to say. And that takes a cohort of amazing women from all different sides of logistics within GXO, and it empowers them to be the best version of themselves. When I went into the female development program, I suffered really bad with imposter syndrome. And I would never have gone into my general manager's office and said, actually, this is the number that I need to give you. I would have always stood back and asked my male counterparts, is this right? Or do you think I've done it right? And I suffered a lot with that at the time when I actually went there. And during the course of the cohort, and the ladies there were amazing, I actually overcome that. And like I said, I took a seat at the table, and now I don't have that fear. I say hello to people, and it's just a really good program that we do that empowers women just to be more resilient and really enjoy what they do, and not just go to it thinking, oh, I'm not going to ask that question because a man should ask
Just
that
in
question,
case.
or
Yes. Yeah.
something like that. So it's just an amazing program, and I benefited a lot from it, and I tell everybody about it now.
That's brilliant.
It's amazing.
And thank you ever so much for sharing that view on imposter syndrome, because that is something I'm sure a lot of people will at home who are watching will feel, and I'm sure around this sofa we've all had a feeling of that, but specifically when it comes to gender, how that can impact people. That's really insightful to hear, and thank you for sharing that. Amy, what sort of programs are involved where you work to help with that gender gap?
So, I mean, there's all sorts going on. So we don't have a specific gender program, but we are sort of looking at a company called Every Woman. So they do awards for a lot of the women in our industry. So they'll be recognised, and we're quite lucky to have had a few winners through Every Woman Awards. But they also do a development program as part of that, which we're sort of rolling out as we speak. So the program sort of is like those bite-sized modules. It's 9 in total, but looking exactly at imposter syndrome, looking at confidence, looking at sort of a lot of the issues that women in our industry are sort of saying, these are what we need and this is what we're really struggling with. So those modules are being rolled out at the moment, but also things like the graduate programme and our entry talent schemes. At the moment we're lucky to have a sort of 46% female male split in our entry talent, which when I started, if I say there was only 4 girls out of nearly 20 in my graduate programme. So even in 2 years, the amount of sort of women represented in those cohorts is massive. And I really think that is the future. It's getting girls into the industry, getting women into the industry at the entry talent level, making sure they've got those female mentors at the top of that business, making sure they can see where they want to go, and then bringing them up with them. Again, we spoke about mentors, didn't we? And about the importance of having those female mentors senior, because they do bring everyone else up with them. And having those male allies as well at the top. So we have sort of different spokespeople for different sorts of areas of diversity we're looking at from. We've got one for race, we've got one for gender, and those sort of male allies at the very sort of C-suite of our business are making sure that things are being put into place so that we feel welcomed into that environment.
That's fabulous. And that's brilliant to hear that statistic about how much that's shifted in just a few years. That's brilliant. And as we've mentioned before in this episode, it's all about skill and what you're bringing to the table, and not your gender or how you identify. So it's great to see that moving forward. Vivi, I'll finish with you there.
Yes.
What sort of incentive programs are available where you
So
are?
we have similar programs for empowering women. Our in my case called Strategies for Success, and is for mid to senior staff that would like to move on and be empowered and develop further their skills, go out of their comfort zone and move on the ladder. We also have programs for senior leaders as well. This is specific for them to grow and entering a new role. Sometimes it's challenging and there are many things to learn and get on grips with, but these programs are designed to support and make sure the transition is the best possible.
I love that. It's great to hear that the companies are making such steps to support these changes and support women in the workplace here. And this isn't just a career for men. So thinking about that, what are practical steps that organisations can take to ensure that women feel welcomed and supported within roles that you do or within the industry? Nicola, let's start with you.
I think, like you touched on, offering those flexible works to work around women who do need to care for the children, and also the menopause, offering the menopause help. We have a great health and wellbeing team on site. We've also got counsellor on site as well.
That's brilliant.
We also do mental health first aiders, so there is a lot of support, not just for women, for men also. But I think the biggest thing for a woman coming into an industry is asking them how they feel. Do they feel like this is the role for them? Do they feel like any adjustments can be made? Because a lot of women do like to sometimes have that quieter time, but they also like to natter as well. A lot of women like to natter. It's just about having, even down to the office temperature. The office temperature can highly impact how somebody works.
Like minus.
Minus, yeah. So I really enjoy a cool office. So I got myself a fan. I ordered that. But some women like a really warm, comfortable environment. It's just about recognising each individual person and what they need, not grouping them together as these are women, these need these things, these are men, they need these things. It's about looking at the individual and asking them, what do you need and how do you feel? Just asking somebody how they feel can change somebody's day.
Absolutely. And I mean, that is a very simple instruction to any organisation out there, just to ask, how do you feel, and treat everyone as individuals. Exactly. I love that. Exactly. Vivi, what's your take on this?
I agree. Flexible working hours and working from home policies as well really support work-life balance, not only for women but for men as well. Also, I think we still have a salary gap to bridge.
Yes, very interesting
one.
So,
yeah, I think this should be also taken into consideration. People in the same role might get different salary depending on the sex.
Yes, yeah.
So it's good to get this addressed.
That's great. And it's, I know that can be a difficult one to bring up, the gender pay gap, and there is more conversations around it. But as you say, there is further to go, and it is well worth highlighting during this episode. So thank you for bringing that to the attention and forefront. Definitely something I know a lot of organisations are looking at, and something that's, again, advice out there to organisations to take forward. Amy, same question to you.
Talking about gender pay gap, I think they call it sort of like the motherhood gap as well. So in terms of when women go off on maternity leave, I will say maternity sort of pay in our industry isn't great at the moment, I'd say quite across the board. So, when women do come back, not only have they had that time away from the business, but also there's that motherhood wage gap where for that year they've not had that salary increase, and that sort of goes on throughout their career. So again, all feeds into that bigger picture, and I think we need to start thinking about things holistically. We need to start thinking about our paternity pay as well, because if we're saying that we're going to give women, I think it's 33 weeks or 90% pay, but we give men 2 weeks at 90%, are we then sort of insinuating that that sort of parenting and that motherhood is that woman's responsibility, rather than sort of making it equal across the board, making sure that, you know, men are also getting that time off with that child, is, you know, that more equality, rather than just sort of saying, oh, we're going to give you a few weeks off pay, which is nothing. I think, again, menopause, a massive thing, making sure that our office environment is really sort of welcoming towards women, taking the stigma away from it, talking about it openly like we are now. So that women, when they are, you know, sort of, if they're going through that menopause and they're not very well one day, they don't feel like they can come in, that they can say to their manager, female or male or whoever they identify as, saying, I can't come in today, this is what's going on, it's menopause related, and having the confidence to say that. In the same way, talking about periods. Again,
actually, we have a monthly, sorry to interrupt
it's
you,
okay.
a monthly forum, a meeting through Teams with all the women that want to learn and get involved and be allies, or they are already in the menopause age. And I think it's really interesting to see that what those women go through, it's not only them. There are others that have the same symptoms, the same like change in their mood, and they find support. So this is really important as well.
Yeah, absolutely. There's some amazing points brought up there. And yeah, having these open conversations. Thank you to the three of you as well for bringing this to the forefront, because it's not always easy for organisations to highlight these topics. So it's great to be able to discuss it in this episode. And of course, those stereotypes around who is the parent and who should be taking the time off. There's lots of angles to look at that. Of course, you mentioned looking back as well. It's not a mum's job; it's a parent's job.
Yeah, exactly.
So looking at the paternity leave as well. I love that. Thank you for bringing those up. So we've mentioned it a little bit. How important is visible leadership from women in logistics, and how does it influence the next generation of professionals? Amy, you've mentioned this before. I'd like to start with you.
Oh, it's massive, and I think we've all mentioned it now. It is so important that to be able to sort of aspire to that next level, that you can see women achieving that. And I think we often talk about the glass ceiling, about smashing the glass ceiling and making sure that women are sort of getting to those levels, but it's also getting to those levels and staying there. I think that's a really important thing we have to think about, getting to those senior positions. But then again, we spoke about sort of the burden, we call it the dual burden, my degree head on.
Brilliant to get the information.
But again, that dual burden, that women are sort of taking on a responsibility now that we're in this environment where we have to work, but also we're in this environment where we have to care for our children, care for elderly relatives, care for parents, those other care responsibilities that we have. So often women will drop out of that career altogether. So it's getting people into those positions, getting them staying there, but seeing all sorts of different women in those positions, not just women potentially who don't have children in those positions, but women of different diversities, women of different sexualities, with all sorts of different family lifestyles, so that we can all aspire to get to that level.
Yes, it is inspirational when you see somebody you can identify with in a position. It motivates you to move forward, doesn't it? And I think that's so wonderful. Very well put. Thank you. Nicola, same question to you.
So I think having that role model is quite important. I always had my mum. My mum was my role model.
Mine too.
It's nice to hear. She went out to work all day. Well, my father went out to work all day, and then my father would come in and my mum would go out again. So they never really had that time together when we was growing up. There's four of us. I'm the youngest, so they never had that time together. They were constantly on the go working. So seeing that growing up, it was like, oh, well, that's what I'm going to do. That's the path I wanted to take, because I saw that because they were always working, they were missing out on the family time a little bit, but they were doing everything they could for us, and we had everything that we ever wanted. And I've seen times where my parents have gone without just so we had, which is quite inspirational. And seeing all these inspirational women and men around us, it just makes you want to have that kind of career. And going into logistics and seeing all inspirational women in the business at such a high level, and being at that level and then progressing and getting to another level. It's very inspirational.
Yeah.
Hopefully one day we'll be the same.
Yes, well, it looks like you're all on track. It's absolutely brilliant. So can I ask about your colleagues? Now, what have they done to help support women in the logistics industry? How are they breaking those traditional stereotypes, or how are they making the sector more accessible? Vivi, can I start with you?
What makes the difference is not approach anyone based on gender, but again, skills, attitude, and the opportunity to support. So I think this is the most important.
Definitely. No, I like that. Nicola, do you have any thoughts?
Currently I have a split, really diverse team. I have females and males, all from different ethnicities, all from different backgrounds, all different ages, and they get on really well. Once I put them all together, they were absolutely amazing, and the men support the women and they push them forward. Like I said, I've got quite a new team, so it's really hard at the minute because we've got a lot of new people to train, but they're all really getting on really well. And I look around the office, like HR is not just females, and that's the stigma that needs to go, that HR is not a female job.
Yes.
Men are also there.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
We have quite a lot of males in the HR role, and they bring that different perspective, just like a woman would to a very male dominant role. They would also bring a different perspective. They offer the light in a difficult situation. I find sometimes men can be, they like to have this battle between each other. Mine's better than yours is better than mine. It's like that, and a woman comes in and kind of diffuses the situation. So yeah, it's great to see different diverse teams, and like I said, HR is not just a female job.
Absolutely.
As a lot of men would see it.
Yeah, and Amy's nodding along there because obviously you're in the HR area, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, oh God, I could talk about my team for hours. I love my team so much. I've been, again, lucky to work across business and be in sort of different environments. I've been the only woman on a team a few times. I was in business development, and we were walking into a meeting, and it was a sort of infrastructure team meeting, and our sort of head of infrastructure turned and was like, "Oh, women here." And it was just like one of those moments that I think you two are like in the industry, it's, "Oh, we're all men. Oh, that's quite cool, actually." So we sort of like strutted into this building all in our PPE, and we felt really cool for the day. But, you know, it is one of those things. I've been really, really lucky to, whether I have been the only woman, which I think can be quite an apprehensive experience. You walk into a room and you do notice it. You clock it straight away. You're on a call, you notice, oh, okay, I'm the only woman on that call. But within a few hours, I've been very lucky that they make you feel so at ease and supported. And you do notice sometimes that men will sort of change their conversations a little bit if you're in a room. They sort of like clock you, oh, might not say that. So maybe, again, it's that positive influence of having that woman in a room.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
I think that's very important, isn't it? That we can all check ourselves and the conversations we're having. And I love what you said, Nicola, about it's almost that yin and yang, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's almost having those different people from different backgrounds, ages, all supporting each other. And actually, ultimately, we have more in common, don't we, than different. So, yes. Let me ask a broader question here. How do you see the role of women in logistics evolving in the next few years? Vivi, can I start with you?
Of course, yes. I think we have a lot to see in the industry. The industry is evolving, is changing. Every day we see new things coming into play. We have digitalization. We turn to greener and more environmentally friendly solutions. We have a lot of tech development. So all these help and assist to have a variety and a bigger pool of candidates ready to join the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. And Nicola, what are your thoughts?
I'd like to see in the next 10 years,
Yeah?
if I make it that long, a lot more women just being happy with themselves. I think you've got to be comfortable and you've got to be confident, regardless of what you look like, what your age is, what your skin colour is, what you identify as. And I'd just love to see women have more confidence to be able to apply for those jobs, because there's no stopping a woman. Once she
Yeah.
gets her teeth into something, she will get there. But I'd love to see, especially young women. I mean, social media influences women a lot. They see things on social media, they compare themselves to people, and it's not a healthy thing to do.
Yeah.
Just being your own person and making sure that you make yourself noticed in a room. You walk into a room and you're your own person. You're not trying to be somebody that you're not.
Love that.
Just empowering yourself, because empowered women empower women, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, and ultimately empower the rest of us. It's very
Exactly.
inspirational to
Exactly.
hear. And Amy,
Oh, I love that. Sorry, that's great.
Sorry.
But no, it's true though, because I remember when I started, and it'd be like, I'd be like, oh, I want to like wear this makeup today, but this was when I was on an all-male team. I was like, oh, but you become quite self-conscious of it, and I think as women we're quite self-conscious. I think as people we're really self-conscious anyway. It's our natural default to sort of, we want to sort of protect ourselves as in many ways as we can. But yeah, just to see women become more confident, like you said, to reach for those roles and to know that they're more than capable, to have that confidence. And I think things are starting to change. I think even just the discussion we're having now, women are feeling more confident to just be themselves. Everybody's feeling more confident to be themselves. We're becoming more and more accepting as a society, and we're starting to call out things that aren't. So hopefully, I mean, next 10 years, what world domination for women, do you reckon?
yeah, I'm behind that. I like this. And final question to you all. What excites you about the next generation of female professionals within your sector? Amy, let's start down with you.
I love this question. Gen Z, so I guess that's the generation who we're seeing coming into the generation now. It's my generation. I would say generally female, male, non-binary, whoever we identify, we are a generation who will not sit and not say anything if we think something's not right. We are outspoken. We are sort of really, we wanting to make that change and making that change quickly. We're not going to sit back and wait for things to happen. And I think that's what's really exciting, to see this generation who's going to start coming in, start challenging those misconceptions, start challenging things that we all sort of sit there every day and there's things like, oh, that's just the way it is. Start challenging that. It's going to be really, really exciting time, and new ideas that people are going to bring up. Generation Alpha coming in after us as well, the most sort of like digitally adept generation to ever come in to the industry. They're going to have so many ideas, and it's going to completely change how we work.
It's so exciting, isn't it? And Vivi, what's your take on this?
I agree. I think it's we can see a lot of changes coming, and hopefully we can see all these fresh ideas, breaking those norms, those taboos, and those ideas that our industry is male dominated, is skill dominated, I would say, and I would
Yes.
like to end it like that. Thank you.
Fabulous. And Nicola, finally.
I would say the generations that are coming up and coming into it don't even have to be logistics, any industry. It's quite exciting because they have a lot of opinions. Younger people can have quite a lot of opinions. And I think that's what they need. They need to break that stigma of the role. You're not allowed to say this. You're not allowed to do this. If you've got an issue or you're not feeling right, you're not allowed to speak up for yourself. Just speak up. And I think the younger ones will do that. They're quite, they've changed the schooling for the younger ones. So I think they will come in and they will speak up. They will shout it from the rooftops if they're not feeling right. And if they're not comfortable in a situation. I've not been comfortable in quite a few situations when I was very young, and I would have just sat there and not said anything just to get through. But I think the younger generation will shout it from the rooftops and say, no, actually, this is my opinion. And make their opinion valid.
Yeah, it's very exciting to see what the future holds.
Yes.
Well, thank you, the three of you. This has been an absolutely inspirational chat. I'm very excited to see where this is going to take us. And thank you all for your time and for inspiring our viewers.
Thank you.
If you have enjoyed today's episode, you can check out more at generationlogistics.org. Today, we have busted that myth that a career in logistics is just for men. And if you want more information, you can always find it online. Thank you ever so much for watching.